So the inZOI developers released a roadmap where they went over a ton of different things, which you can see on the screen now. Things that we didn't actually know before, which is really exciting to see. First up, they mentioned cars. They said you won't be able to drive around like you would in GTA, but they didn't say actually how you would be able to drive around. So I'm not sure exactly what that means. I'm assuming it might be similar to The Sims 3. They did say there's functionality in the car, which involves going on road trips, and you can invite other Sims in your car and you can do like a road trip thing together, which I thought was really cool. They also showed off convertibles. So not only do convertibles exist, you can actually see the car roof like come off, which I thought was really cool. Now, another thing they mentioned was car accidents. Apparently they're a real thing. They said this wasn't like GTA, it is a bit. There we go. This is a screen of somebody in a car accident. I believe Haim Nicole in her video where she played this, her character died in a car accident. So it looks like you can, firstly, you can die, but secondly, you can get in car accidents. They did also mention that in the game, if you do accidentally die or you do something that you don't like, you can go back in time. The game has an autosave feature where I believe it autosaves very frequently, so you can just go back in time to any point that you want to. They showed it off in the actual gameplay footage here with all the different time slots which were taken, which is good. In a sadistic way, it sounds kind of funny to be able to have my characters get run over by a car, but then I also think, is this going to be really, really annoying? Like, I don't want to have to look on both sides of the road or wait for traffic lights every single time I would like to walk across a street. Is my character just going to be constantly dying of car crashes? This is what I'm wondering. Because I'm quite clumsy and I don't think about these things. So I'm going to have to wait and see to like how it's implemented in terms of if it'll piss me off or not. They also mentioned group activities, or basically social interactions involving multiple people. And they gave an example of a husband going off to work and his wife like kissing him as he goes out the door. Isn't that really, really sweet? That's very cute. That's like the level of realism I'd like to see in a game like this. They also showed off playing karaoke. They didn't really give too much away other than they're working on interactions between like 2 or more people. And I think it will be interesting to see how it will develop, because I think group interactions can be really difficult in terms of performance of a live sim game and it getting a little bit too buggy. I mean, that's a big reason why The Sims 4 is such a mess every time you go to a community lot, for example. So honestly, I'm not too bothered about group activities. I think we're just gonna have to wait and see how it's implemented. They also showed off different relationship types with different sliders in terms of the kinds of relationships. So obviously these are in Korean, but according to Google Translate, which could be wrong, we've got friendship, progress, romance, business relationship, family relationship, and then the bottom one is called openness, which I don't quite understand, especially openness. Like, what does that even mean? But they have also stated that there's sliders that relate to how difficult or easy it is to build relationships. So for example, they demonstrated how maybe you could romance another character very quickly in only a few interactions, or you can make it much harder and make it take longer and also increase the frequency of bad interactions. So I actually kind of like the idea of changing the difficulty. I've always said, like, in The Sims, it needs difficulty modes. I think it would make it better. So that's really cool. Now, another thing they mentioned, guys, is a reputation system, which is very similar to The Sims, and the way it was explained sound very similar to The Sims in that you do bad things and it gives you a bad reputation, you do good things and you get a good reputation, and wherever you are, you'll unlock certain interactions depending on whether your character is good or bad in terms of their reputation, which is cool. But something that they mention here, okay, they spoke about a karma system. I think the thing about reputation is it depends on how other people perceive you, depending on actions that other people know you've done. With a karma system, they explained it is like reputation, but for things that you didn't get noticed doing or things other people don't know about you. Like, I guess, like, okay, if I donated money to charity right now and I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know about it, but it's a positive thing. But that wouldn't affect my reputation because nobody knows I've done it. So this is where a karma system would come into play, which I think is really, really interesting. They said they haven't developed it yet. They're still on the drawing board, but they would hope to put it in. I honestly really like the idea of having a karma system in a game like this, and I didn't even think about about it, but it's so cool. You guys let me know what you think about a karma system. I think it's a really genius idea. I wouldn't have even thought about it before. Now, they also spoke a lot about city editing. So as we know from before, you can actually put your own YouTube videos or just a URL for any YouTube video and put it on the billboards in the city, and then it'll play the video. So you can play my videos whilst you're playing inZOI in the game. But they also clarified some other things about designing a city, and that even though you don't necessarily like design the world, you can't do that. They've said that you can change something. So they mentioned obviously that you can change the weather in the game, and you can change it very freely, just on the fly do it, which I think is really cool. They also mention, okay, how you can just easily change trees. And if you look here, when it changes scene, they just change the trees and they automatically like clip and change. And you can also change animals as well, which I thought was really funny. How on earth, like, are we going to have live animals now? Like, there's literally a panda here and a pussycat. Like, am I just, oh my God, there's an alligator or crocodile or something. Oh my God. Like, are we just going to be able to put pandas like in the city? Like, how's that going to work? I don't know. But it gives you at least some customization, I guess, but without actually changing the whole city, which I guess is a good compromise. They also showed off sliders how you can change like the cleanliness of the city. So if you want to make a very trashy looking city, you can do it. You can also increase fire hazard level in order to make fires more likely. You can make it really like post-apocalyptic, which is funny. They spoke about crime rates as well. You can change crime rates. Like, it's basically like a cross between The Sims and City Skylines. They also spoke about mods in CC, how they're going to make it easy for modders and CC creators to create content, which I think is really good. Now, they also spoke a lot about the character creator itself. They didn't give much new information, but they did say they've been working on adding nail art so you can paint your character's nails, which is cool. Honestly, guys, what do you think about the way that they look? I feel like they're like too realistic. Like, I'm just thinking, like, how on earth is my game going to cope? Like, how is my PC going to be able to handle this? And I have like a very powerful PC, and even I can't see it working. I feel like maybe there will have to be some compromise with the release version. I feel like they're doing all of this fancy graphics to like make it look impressive, but the release version will be different. That's my personal theory about it. A lot of people have been complaining that you can't create a diverse range of characters in the game based on what they've seen. I honestly completely disagree. In every single trailer they've shown characters which all look completely different. Like, I definitely feel like there is going to be a huge ton of customization options. I do not think you will have a hard time being able to create any kind of person that you want to create. I genuinely think the character creator is going to be like the best part of this game if it looks like this already. They've also been showing off their version of the Sims 4 gallery called Canvas, which obviously you can share build stuff, but also characters as well, which is really cool. And you can upload it with certain tags and descriptions, and you can really easily change the photo frames that you use for it as well. In terms of photos, they've also shown off a really cool screenshot system where you can get into so much detail in terms of taking your screenshot and actually changing loads of different things. You can even, like, when you're paused, change your character's expression and everything. It looks really in depth. I think a lot of players will like the idea of screenshots and being able to take cinematic things, because I feel like that's something that's very popular in The Sims, and I feel like it would transfer into a game like this, especially with the graphics being so good. A random miscellaneous feature they've spoken about is dreams, and apparently every single night your character will dream, and what they dream about may affect them the next day, which I think is really interesting. I think the effects will be like minor effects, but still it's pretty cool. But even more interesting, guys, they're actually introducing sleepwalking into the game. The game is going to have literal sleepwalking. Not only does your character sleepwalk, they said that sometimes they can do like certain random interactions whilst they're asleep, which I just think is really interesting. I actually really like the idea of sleepwalking, although I think I might find it a little bit annoying if my character does it all the time. I personally think sleepwalking should be a trait that only certain characters have, because in real life, not everyone does it. I personally have never sleepwalked in my entire life. Not everyone does. Something I hear tons of people keep mentioning all the time, firstly, is sexuality, and secondly, marriage. So you can get married in the game. As far as I'm aware, the game does have same-sex relationships, and they've stated that your character can get married, but they've used the word like married in a very indirect way. What I think may be the case is they might be giving homosexual characters' civil partnerships or something along that line. That's what it seems like they're suggesting, because it seems like they are introducing it, but it also seems like they're creeping around the word married where they can, but it's technically maybe a little bit different. Honestly, I don't know really what to feel about it, because it's being made by a developer that's not from a Western country where we have better human rights and we have better equality. It's one of those things where it's like, people always say it's cultural difference, it's cultural difference. The way I see it, regardless of your culture, homosexuality does exist everywhere in the world. It's been proven. It does not matter what your culture is. In some countries, homosexuality is tolerated. In other countries, it's not tolerated. But regardless of toleration, it exists everywhere. So, seeming this is a life simulation game, I feel like it's fair to allow you to simulate all aspects of life. I don't know if I find like they're being very indirect with the marriage thing, and it's a little bit icky. Like, I wish they'd just say it straight. Well, not straight. You know what I mean? I wish they would just say it, because they're not being very direct about it, and it's a little bit silly. Like, just be upfront about it. If they want to market the game to a Western audience, and they have to make it Western friendly, and it seems like they do want to market it towards a Western audience, because I believe they've actually hired an American, I don't know what the official role is called, but like an American cultural advisor, like that kind of thing, because they want to market towards Westerners. So I think they've just got to do what they want depending on what their target audience is. Nobody's forcing anyone to play it. Honestly though, I'm just really excited about actually being able to play the game when it's finally out. Obviously there's so much more work that they need to do. I think it looks impressive, but we don't really know exactly how it will play yet. There's just so many more things that could be done with it, and it could be great, but if it's not optimized to play on the average person's PC, then what's the point? So we'll have to wait and see in terms of that. You guys let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one.